Okay, members and friends.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Vote 39, resolved that a sum not exceeding $15,694,000 be granted to Her Majesty to defray the expenses of the Ministry of Natural Gas Development, Ministry Operations. Member for Vancouver Mountain.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. We only have 2 more hours in these debates, I'm just told. I am absolutely dismayed about that because I've got piles and piles of questions.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because we had that problem 2 years ago and it's gotten worse. It's totally. I can go back into my old videos and pull out what she just said, and I wish I had the time to do it because I'd like to go back to back to back to back. And she's not the only person to point out that, you know, they time limit these debates. Obviously, they make it hard to find them, right? And they chop them up and they mix them up. And they don't log anything down, so you can't find it. But I just wanted you to know that I am listening to this now, so we'll be back. Okay, after I clicked off, I clicked this on, and I started listening. And then all of a sudden, I had a huge panic attack. And all I could think about was the United States with 30,000 people standing there trying to hand in their application for, subsidized housing under HUD, right, which is a federal program. 30,000 are showing up in cities trying to get into social housing or subsidized housing. After I clicked off, I clicked on her, and that's the first thing that started coming out of her mouth. But here, let's just do a repeat here. Hold on.
Mr. Chair, we only have 2 more hours in these debates, I'm just told. I am absolutely dismayed about that because I've got piles and piles of questions. I know the minister is very excited about these questions. So we were talking about the non-profit housing sector where the federal agreements, subsidy agreements would end. The same actually goes for the cooperative sector. And so between now and 2017, almost 1,500 units or households living in federally financed housing co-ops will lose their rent-to-gear income subsidies that makes their income affordable as their agreements with CMHC I've got a cough drop in my mouth, sorry. With CMHC expire. And the number will grow to 37 households by 2022. So now that the responsibility of housing, co-op housing, is downloaded to the province and the territories, so what are the government's plans to replace these lost subsidies so that the low-income co-op housing members will be able to maintain their homes? With a strategy that the government adopting for the nonprofit sector would also apply to the co-op sector?
Okay, so now we're going on to Rich Coleman. I don't see how still any of this relates to natural gas development. Okay, when I hear Ministry of Children, or sorry, that's what I was looking for, but I couldn't find that. So now we're on to the Ministry of Natural Gas Development. It's the development that's throwing me off here. When I hear that, I think of those pipelines going in. That's natural gas development. The fracking of the mountain with their shale and cracking it open with their 500 chemicals, that's gas development. Here she's talking about federal housing that's being cut off on a subsidized level and how it's going to affect, 1,500 people plus over the next 3 years, which is coming up real fast. So, again, I don't understand how they can be debating this, but I'm going to listen to this now. We got 230 minutes and 40 seconds. And I suppose in the next committee meeting or sitting is when they'll have their debate somewhere in there with the Ministry of Children and Family Development. They tucked it in very nicely and neatly, right? So maybe we'll find it in the last 5 minutes of this video. On Hansard, that is. Okay, members and friends, since we're on a discussion of natural gas here and development, the development of natural gas, and I can't afford to pay for gas anymore. My gas bill and my hydro bill Just those two bills is $600, and that's with the low gas bill. Winter hasn't kicked in yet. So anyway, apparently you can make a little heat doing this, so we're gonna try this. Just hold on a minute. Okay, so I don't know what size pots, but I'm only trying to just do what I can here. So we're using excuse me, 3 candles. I had to turn these upside down, take out the wax, right? And then because you want airflow, so you put that on top. You have to cover up this one, okay? And then we're going to take this big one and put it over that. So hold on. Okay, I don't think you put anything on the top because it blew out the candles. So you take this one and you put it on top. You can see the candle is still burning underneath there. Right, there's a little shine. You can see it shining. Oops. You can see it shining, but it's this one that you put. So we'll just make sure that they don't go out. And then you're supposed to get a convection of air going through to start heating up this one on the outside. So we'll see. We'll come back with our natural gas development. Ministry of Children Natural Minister of Natural Gas and Development with their transition houses and candle wax. Okay, members and friends, day six without welfare. Here's my comfort food for my kids. That's the onions we got from our local convenience store. And there's our little heating utensil here. Right. My son took one down to his room, so we'll see. We're not too sure how these things work yet. So anyway, there's the onions. We're going to do some, what is it called? You know, onion rings, right? I made some soup with just bones, right, and a button. That's pretty good. And some vegetables from my yard, you can see. Well, from my greenhouse. Alright. And from the yard. That squash in here is still from the yard. So there's some beef soup. There's some bones for the dogs. I'll give them to my daughter and she can take them to where she lives. I'm sure somebody who has a dog there that's a big dog that will really like to have that. And then there's the oil. There's the oil. There's the fish. That's a snapper that's been in the fridge for a while. Freezer. There's the French fries. I've got some old buttermilk dip here. And some of that, you know, dip right here. So I'm just going to mix the two up together. And that's going to be for the fish and the onion rings. And since I've been in here all day and it's already 6 o'clock, I'm getting kind of tired. All I've been doing is singing to Andre today. I haven't done any paperwork again. You know, I had my 15-year-old crying yesterday. Oh, you don't cook like you used to, Mom. You know, and I'm like, well, you're right. I don't cook as much as I used to, and don't you dare say there's no food in the house because you have to cook it, right? There's no food in the house. What are you talking about? There's lots of food in the house. You just have to cook it. So anyway, we'll be back. Okay, so there's the onion rings. Go over here. There's some more onion rings and some fish. There's my little daughter making French fries. Okay, members and friends, there's Zoe. She's been a wild cat down here. Her owner had to give her up. And my son brought her home. Now we need to find a home for her. She's quite loving. You can touch her. I was down here just a little while ago. She's purring. She starts to purr. But she's petrified. Hey Zoe? Your name's Zoe, eh? Hello. If I move, she'll start crying. Just wait. She wants out, but we can't let her out because she'll just disappear into the basement somewhere. And the other cat, she'll start scrapping. So. Okay, members and friends, you met Zoe. Anyway, these are some of my costumes. I'm making a space down here to set up this little sewing table. because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be living in this house for. These are the things that I made back in 2005. So I think I found a location. I can put them on as consignment. So I'm going to pull them up, take this out of here, take them upstairs. I got my own little rack. And I can't leave them down here. You know, over the last year, I got people trying to break into my house. I got people bringing shit in my yard, you know, and just leaving it there. And I'm washing other people's clothes. I don't even know who they belong to. I'm taking it back to the front room. You know, some guy's been storing his stuff here, but, you know, he's bringing more stuff. And I'm like, take your stuff. And he won't take his stuff. And like I said, there's a high level of homelessness in Surrey, right? So lots of issues. So anyway, these are going upstairs, and I'm setting myself up a little sewing table downstairs here in the basement. And, you know, because I really don't want to stifle my youngest daughter in terms of being on welfare. And then they start taking money off of my check, and then they cut me off, and then they don't cut me off. And I think I'm on day, 15 or something without, you know, no welfare at this point in life, right? Today's the 25th. They cut me off on the 14th. So there you go. How many days is that, right? But anyway, I'll be back. Oh, that's 11 days. 11 or 12 days. Okay, so what's happening here is I'm being rifled through. People are stealing from me. They've been stealing. This is mine. This one I made. But you can see, look how empty that is. That's a lot of costumes. Right? I don't know what's missing. I got some upstairs, but I have to go through them all, right? But with this thing half empty, that means half my stuff in there was taken. Just like I went into the food pantry yesterday, and I'm missing food in there too. So. And then I have to cope with this shit. I didn't make not one stitch. Well, my 18-year-old is saying, not one thing in here is my mess. Not one. I didn't eat nothing. I didn't use a spoon. I didn't use a fork. I didn't drink from a glass. I never once used a pot. It's not my responsibility. I don't have to help. Hold on a minute. Okay, so I'm trying not to have a nervous breakdown here. I really don't know what to do. I just know I'm going to be putting a little sewing table in there. Right? Start using up my do-rag fabrics and stuff and pull out my old costumes. I think I'm going to have to take this rack upstairs, put it in my living room, and hang everything up and just do a real big inventory on it and see what's missing. Because I have this stuff logged, right? Where is it? Yeah, see? Right there. Let's pull out this one. Hold on. No, it's upside down, but we get the point. What does it say? Dark teal. How much is this one? $350. Here. Right. I have books around somewhere. Hold on a minute. Okay, members and friends. I wasn't going to do another video for a little while, right? I was just going to let it ride on that house stuff for a bit because, you know, that's pretty much the way the politics have been rolling around this province for the last 12 years. You never know from one day to the next what the hell's going on. And when you think you finally get caught up and you got it right, they turn around and they change the rules. They change the rules as you're coming through the door. They change the rules to the individual. They do what they want. They really do. And, you know, just a perfect example, you know, I got this today, which is November 25th. This came from my daughter's social worker in regards to that booby trap 1, 2, and, well, 1 and 2. The one that my dad and I went to, and this is a response that she wrote. And she's requesting that I go see her again. Where does it say that? It says, as a result, we would like to meet with you to discuss how to best support Andre during visits with you. I'm not having any more visits with my grandson. I'm fighting to get my grandson home. They have accused me not wanting to hug my grandson. So it's back to that, I'm a bigger nana than you are. They said that he's wetting the bed now. 5 kids, I've never had a bedwetter, so that's not my fault. They say he's not eating again. That's not my fault. He ate for me. He ate for the family. He ate for himself. Toddlers don't go on hunger strikes. They said they investigated my complaints against the foster caregiver. Maybe you did, but you didn't do a good enough job. They said that you consistently correcting him to call you Nana instead of Grandma. So we're back to that Nana-Grandma fight. Some of the concerns reported during visits. So more than one. Remember, I only got to go to the first one at the first date. I never got to see all the other ones because they took it away from me, right? During visits that you were refusing to hug Andre when he tried to hug you. I don't know how that makes any sense. I had to ask him to hug me one time before he left, happy with his little book. They said I tried to sneak in the pictures. No, I didn't try to sneak in the pictures. What I did is I wrote a letter to the organization that serves the community as a public service, and I pointed out certain flaws within their building in terms of lava rocks, spiders, and what that can result in if a human being was to get bit. So I provided 2 or 3 pictures of the actual spider bite so that they could understand and see what I'm talking about. And as I was going through the pictures, because I'm working with my grandson there, these people know my grandson, I thought I'd give them a couple pictures to show them on the mic at the park and to show them on the mic at the little event that we did at Bingy's restaurant at that time. And he was near the drum. Plus he had one picture with the mic. And then I thought, well, okay, I've done that. Why don't I copy out a few more pictures for Andre so that when we make the 5th book, it's something different. Because every week I was trying to do something different. Well, it wasn't every week because there was cancellations on their part. But anytime I could go, I was trying to make books. So we did shapes, we did colors, we did pictures, we did National Geographics, you know, we did words, right? And then I thought, well, okay, I'm here now. I printed out these. Why don't I print out a couple for Andre and we can attach them to his book? You can take it home. I'm talking. Please stay quiet. But they're suggesting that I tried to sneak it in. And then he went home and totally misbehaved. And that's all my fault. I wasn't going to tell you about this because it doesn't really mean anything in the fact that other than she's got something to present to the judge to say that she's working with me. But she's not. She's mocking me because she dated it for November 13th. She knows damn well about my nonprofit. She creeps my videos. Right? That's fine. Well, I don't go out of my way to emotionally antagonize. You know, you want to accuse me of not wanting to hug my grandson? How dare you? You want to demote me down to a grandma when he was born in with a nana? and then appoint some other strange woman as a nana and say she's a bigger nana because we put a capital N in front of it and a small n in front of yours. Well, it's all my fault that he's been starving himself since the duration that he came into their apprehension, not my apprehension. They're the ones who took him. And they know they got cut off welfare because they were doing it on the 13th. They only gave me the 1 day grace, remember? Because when I went in on the 14th at 2 o'clock, they told me it was too freaking late. So my file had already been closed. And they had been trying to close it for months. But every time I'd go in, I'd say, here, take my stuff. No, we're not taking it. You know, come back next month. Finally, it got to, well, this is it. If you don't, you know, by the 14th of November, if you're not here and you keep getting the same amount of money, you're getting completely cut off. We're not going to extend it. We won't have you come back and maybe submit your stub. We just won't allow you to submit your stub. So they wrote the little letter, right? I'm not having visits with him. I'm fighting for him to come home. I'm not taking counseling with him either, because if after he comes home and if 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months go by and he's still so-called acting out where it's disturbing to me as a 3-year-old child trying to readjust to his normal family life with his real family, then I'll ask for help. But it's obvious this caregiver hasn't been able to cope with Andre. Right? Because anytime you have any kind of visit, whether it's my teenage daughters, whether it's the mother, whether it's me, it's been one complaint after another complaint after another complaint, and that's how they use those complaints to say, well, here, let's try and figure it out together. And once you get caught up in that little trap, you're never going to get out of it, because you're never going to measure up to them. Because they're not giving Andre what he wants, and that's to come home. I'm sorry, he's not going to starve himself with them and feed himself with me. The diarrhea, I can understand, because he wanted to eat everything that I brought. And I brought a fair amount of fruit, because remember, he's not allowed fruit juice. So he probably gets limited amount of fruit to begin with. And when he was with us, he could eat whatever he wanted, when he wanted, and as much as he wanted when we had it. And he ate a lot. When he was with me for that 1 month duration after they kicked out my daughter, he grew an inch. When we handed in the clothes that they requested, he got like bread. Because I was buying sleepers, right? They got like brand new sleepers. Oh, well, they were used. Sorry, we bought them at Value Village, but they were in really good shape. Brand new, basically. And they were bought to accommodate his growing spurt, which immediately stopped as soon as he got into foster care. And he was denied cheese, fruit. Now he doesn't like milk. He won't drink milk, which I don't understand, because when the kids were visiting him, he was crying and screaming for milk because she wasn't giving him milk. And that affects the brain development too, in terms of when you're under high stress and there's cortisol going back and forth and you deprive the body of calcium, you know, it makes them slow. And then if you add in prescription medications to dope them up, to numb them, to quiet them, to make them sleep in the back of the van while you do your errands. So this is just so that she can give it to the judge to say, oh yeah, she's being, argumentative still. She doesn't want to sit down and work out a little arrangement to have a visit with the counselor so that Andre can develop normally under our care. He hasn't been developing normally since January 15th, since the day they took him. Just up and took him. If he was at home, he would be playing Old MacDonald on the farm on his keyboard. I'm sure he'd be reading notes by now, because he was going into that transitional stage with us. He was old enough for it, and his auntie was more than eager to teach him. And you can see he could play with two fingers, 2 hands. He has the dexterity for it, but they took that away from him. And I don't care what this caregiver says. Oh well, I got teenage daughters, and he's not, he's always being looked after properly, and don't worry. And yeah, I got a piano too, Judy. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't do nothing with him. He couldn't recognize his name. He couldn't hold a pencil properly, crayon, and all he wanted to do is scribble. I told you, that's it. That's it. Forgot his numbers, forgot to sing, forgot to count, forgot everybody's name in the house. But he still communicated with me, and they know that. But they had to use their little gaudy lipstick with their professional college students writing down that I was refusing hugs from my grandson. Because I'm the lesser Nana of the two Nanas in battle. With the support of the Ministry of Children and Family Development, looking, out for the one that's gray, 350 pounds, can't walk, right? And likes to reprimand my grandson each and every time I took him out. So to the point I said, that's it, I'm not taking him out no more because I'm tired of her ruining our 45-minute little happy time. And as soon as I did that, and I said, I want to be called Nana, he called me Nana. The monitor said, call Nana one time. I said, Andre, I'm Nana. All my visits have been canceled since then. And now they want me to go for counseling with him because he's acting out after he sees me. Because he's peeing the bed now. I have 5 kids. All my kids were potty trained by 2.5. 2, some of them. 2, that was it. 2 years old, no more. Andre was with the little toity. Yay! Well, they took that away from him. They put him on a big freaking industrial toilet and scared the shit out of him. Right? Gave him a penis infection. Cut him off his cheese, cut him off his fruit. Convinced him that he didn't like milk anymore. Right? So anyway, I got big troubles. Like really big troubles. Because you can't win against stuff like this because it doesn't even make sense. Like, it doesn't even make sense. I advised you that some of the concerns included Andre having diarrhea. Okay, we talked about that. They could cut back on the fruit. He was taking some home. But again, he was eating fruit like that here, and he didn't have that here. So we figure she was denying him fruit. So as soon as it hit his stomach, there was a reaction to it. But he was eating it all with me. So that could have been rectified for sure. Right? In terms of, well, you only get half, Andre, being that you're not allowed to eat as much as you normally used to be able to eat. As a growing little boy should be able to eat when that time comes, right? Some of the concerns reported during visits were that you were refusing. Some of the concerns, so she makes it more as not a single incident, but as a, plural, as in more than one. So I was shunning against my grandson. Okay, that's why I only sat there and encouraged him to make books and open his mind up. As they were constantly trying to distract him. When he tried to hug you. You know why they did that? Because they're trying to hurt my feelings. Right? They're trying to make me feel inadequate and impotent and, selfish and, it's not about you. It's about him. Yeah, it is about him. You're damn right it's about him. Something you forgot when you took him. And you put him with complete strangers that only have a financial interest in him. Which has proved itself to be true over the last year. And that you sent home pictures hidden in his coloring book. No. What it was is the last day, was visiting with him. They got the letter. They didn't like it. So they were in the background. Another family came in. The one that was planted as a distraction for Andre. was in the courtyard, and he wanted to go play. My back was this way, Andre's was this way, but he could look there and he could look over there behind my back at the monitor, who wore bright gaudy lipstick, mouthing. So he was a little fidgety. And then he ended up just getting up off the chair and stood by this door that you have to go through to get outside. But because I've only been outside myself one time, I didn't realize that you had to go through that door to get outside. But Andre knew because he had been there before without me. And he kept standing there. And I'm like, Andre, no, you got to move away from the door. And he had a big bruise on his forehead. And I'm looking and I'm like, you know, I see, I'm like, come on, Andre, you can't stand by the door. Like, come on. Right? And he sat down, got up, and she, oh, you want to go? You want to go to the bathroom, Andre? So she gets up and she steers him off in another direction. So he goes running, gets to the bathroom. He doesn't want to go to the bathroom. He runs back and he's standing by that door again because he wants to go outside and play with those little kids. Because they keep him locked up, right? And he knows he can run around and be free out there. So our little bookmaking visit got cut short because that took about a half an hour to go back and forth to the washroom and try and convince him to move away from the door, and I couldn't understand. I realized after the fact when I got home what it was all about. And because of that monitor with her bright lipstick behind my back, how the hell am I supposed to know what she's saying to him? As the caregiver's telling me that she's making Andre read lips because he can't understand the English language no more. He has no comprehension for his age. So he's got to read everybody's lips in order to pay attention to people. That's what they brought him down to. They lowered his IQ. But they've investigated that lady, so everything's okay. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Let's pick it up. Hello?
tell him to call back.
Just for me.
Well, tell him to call back.
Go back.
Where's the handy dart? I do want to know.
Well, you should have listened then.
It's okay, I'm good, Johnny. It's at 11 o'clock.
Okay then, good to go. Because I don't want to get up and turn it off and, you know, restart again, right? And so anyway, I'm not going to have an abusive relationship with a college student that just got out of school doing her practicum on my grandson. The relationship has been abusive from the moment she sat down and said, you have a choice. Either kick out your daughter or lose your grandson. Well, my daughter didn't come home, and I still lost my grandson. And now they're trying to say I don't love him because I didn't give him enough hugs, because they want to protect their dirty toilets. And the fact that they got scarecrows among spiders with lava rocks, with gaudy looking monitors that got to manipulate the situation so that they can manipulate my grandson. No matter what happens, they're manipulating him. They're not letting it unfold naturally, right? So that he can go home and be exploited by his caregiver, who can file another complaint about how he's such a bad little boy. So she can make more money and guarantee a nest egg for herself and her teenage daughters, who do absolutely nothing with my grandson other than, I don't know what they do. They haven't taught him anything. They don't read to him. They don't sing to him. They don't teach him how to play the piano. Right? His skin was all rough. His face was all red. He got infections. He's lost weight. He can't talk. You know, he doesn't understand things very well anymore. So they say. And they want me to go in there and connect under those conditions that they put forward with people like that can't even be real. Just so they can keep them longer. And send me another letter this time next year so that they can take salt like this, and rub it in all our wounds. All right, did you see that? Rub it in all our wounds, put it in our face, stick it in our eyes, jam it down our throat as an insult to teenagers that love their nephew very much and did everything possible so that he could be happy and healthy, and he was. They don't care about the nonprofit because they're basing everything around the day that it was founded. Like I said, they're just rubbing in salt. They don't care. I got a little secret. Only I don't think it was so much of a secret. They got some little family visiting center house around here. My daughter comes home and she says, "Oh yeah, there's a little ministry house around here, Mom. My social worker told me not to tell you." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Right? Well, anyway, that little house was giving away some toys. And my daughter says, "Hey, let's get these toys, it's a daycare there." I'm like, I know it's a daycare. I know what kind of daycare it is because I seen the paperwork on that daycare, whether by chance or whether by one of those targeting moments when I just happened to be walking down the street and somebody just happened to be looking for this organization that works at this particular address. And I'm like, oh, okay, there we go. We just connected the dot. But to keep my daughter happy, I said, sure, oh sure, whatever. We'll bring home these little toys and we'll put them in the front with Andre's Playhouse with the rest of the broken dreams. They're garbage, right? They don't want those toys. They got money. They can go buy new toys. So they put it out in the street for us people with the broken dreams. So that they can take my grandson there and convince him that somebody else owns him when they're done using him.